Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. We are here again to do what we do best. It is important that we point out that this platform is a non-partisan platform. We have no interest to embarrass the government or to harm Jamaica in any way, shape, or form. This platform is about finding solution for the pressing problem at home, Jamaica. Good evening to you all. Like, share, and subscribe to the channel. So, is crime rising? Is one of the questions on this evening show. Good evening, Sir Ron, Sir Ivy,
Good evening,
Dr.
Doctor.
Ivy. Good evening. Are you hearing me, Dr. Ivy?
Look like Ronnie talk to himself.
No, man.
Wait,
I'm hearing him. I'm hearing him. You're not hearing him,
you not hear me,
Dr.
Doctor
Ivy.
Ivy?
Dr. Ivy, you are on mute. Dr. Ivy, you are on mute. We're not hearing you.
Maybe that's not a bad thing for him to be muted.
No, but I am here. You're hearing me. You're not hearing me, Dr. Ivy. You're not hearing me. I'm gonna call him because he's not hearing me. Dr. Ivy. I yeah, but Dr. Ivy, we're not hearing. I am hearing you, but you're not hearing Ronnie.
I'm here, but I'm hearing Doctor Ivy.
Yeah, you hear him. So I
He's
don't
not
know.
hearing me.
All right, let me try again, Dr. Ivy, because we're not. All right.
I'm not hearing Ronnie.
Oh wow. You're not hearing Ronnie? You're not hearing? I don't think it. So you hearing me, Dr. Ivy? Dr. Ivy not hearing me either. What is going on? I don't know. Dr. Ivy, you're not hearing me. I don't know what's going on. I don't know.
Okay, I'm hearing him now. I'm hearing you now.
You hear me now? Okay, good.
Yes, yes.
All right. So you hear me now?
Yes.
You hear me, Sir Randy? You hear me?
Yeah, man, I'm hearing you clearly.
Okay, all right. Good evening. Good evening again to you both.
Greetings, greetings.
We have Dr. Francis May join us. He had a surgery or something like that, so he having some issue. Chris is running a little bit late, but we're not going to delay because there's so much going on. We're gonna get straight into it. We are gonna just get into it if you don't mind. It's okay, Sir Rand, for me to roll.
I'm good to go.
All right, Dr. Ivy, you ready?
Oh, yes.
All right, we are now in we are now at the start of a new chapter in the fight against crime in Jamaica. Dr. Kevin Blake was installed. Well, it was about 2 days ago as a new commissioner. He's replaced Major General Anthony Anderson, who held the position since 2018. This platform welcomed him. To be honest, I do. The question that on everybody's mind is, what's the difference will this be to the crime situation in the country? My first question to the panel is, what is your opinion on the work done by the outgoing Commissioner Major Anthony Anderson? Was he a success or a failure? I'm going to start with Sir Ran. And we already know the rules. I did not read the rules because we're familiar people here, so we know the rules of the That's I did not read second. I know that
As soon
Dr. Ivy would want me to do
as soon
that.
as Dr. Francis come, if him come, just make sure you're ready with Dr. Break. Okay, okay, so the success or failure of
the now gone police commissioner.
Major General. Okay, so I don't know that much has changed, to be honest with you. He was kind of the right kind of commissioner for the middle class of Jamaica. We like people like Dr. Like Major Anthony Anderson. You know, he speaks like the middle class. He has, you know, behavior patterns that the middle class, you know, I'm talking about not just the upper middle class or the chatting populace, you know, like him, you know. And I remember how he was received with much fanfare, and a lot was expected from him because he sound that way, you know. He speaks well, and so the question, you know, is whether or not he was able to translate all of that into real police performance. I'm not sure. If I was to grade him, I would give him a B minus, and not that would, you know, say that he has done as well as a B minus, but I know the struggles and the limitation of the police commissioner. What I do think he succeeded in, you know, he got a lot of help as regard to the technology that was made available to the police force. That is, you know, an area of improvement, and I think it was a focus of his. So in that front, I think the police force is a lot more technologically savvy now than it was before, particularly in areas of communication and some forensics and so on and so forth. That I think he would have succeeded with. Beyond that, I just think, you know, my measure of what a police commissioner does, and maybe unfair, is just the murder rate. And I did not see much, you know, done on that. The final point I'll make, though, was the bold move that he made to expose the police to the kind of external assessment of the ISO 9001. You know, he was prepared and to put up the system of the police force to that kind of scrutiny, which I like. And it's only a few police forces, you know, around the world that subject themselves to that. And so I like that level of transparency. And it's only usually when a person is committed to quality that they will do that. So in that regard, I would give him some kudos. So my mark from him is a B minus.
Okay. All right. Dr. Ivy, do you want to respond to that question that I asked her?
Yes, thank you. And I've listened Ronnie's balanced assessment of the commissioner, outgoing commissioner. Major General Anderson, after his stint in the army, came to the position of commissioner with a lot of hope in the Jamaican people having regard to his antecedents, military trained, Sandhurst Military Academy, master's degree, and all of that type of thing. So he came with a good profile. But the thing is, army work and the policing are different things. And that was an issue there. I will grant him, I'll give you my grade when I'm finished. He has brought the technology focus to the police force. I grant him that. So what I would say is that in terms of passing the baton, he has put the force in a position where you kind of turn in the corner towards a modernization of the JCF. That is going to be a big part of his legacy in terms of saying he took the JCF here as it relates to modernization and technology. And so anyone else Dr. Blake, for example, will now build on that to take it further. So that I'll grant him in terms of the technology focus and the modernization. I think he has also brought a level of improved professionalism to the force in terms of the expectation and the standard to which he will hold the police officers and so forth, their professionalism. Those are the areas that I will give him kudos for in terms of doing that, the things that I've just mentioned. The murder rate, we ended 2023 at 1,383 murders. Those are Jamaicans that have been killed for the most part. So there has not been a significant dent in the homicide rate under Major Anderson's tenure. And we have not dipped under 1,000. And I think that's a significant index of performance as it relates to in any situation of policing the murder rate. For me as well, he has not orchestrated the restoration of order in public spaces. Every major town that you go in, they are chaotic. A motorcyclist will ride past a policeman ticketing a motorist for some type of offense, while the motorcyclist rides past without an helmet. Nothing of the kind has been reined in. Taxi drivers, it's a jungle out there on the streets in terms of the restoration of public order. He has not made a dent in that. The Prime Minister at one time said that he was going to give him a mandate to restore order to halfway tree. I was there 2 weeks ago and it was really just chaos. And the other thing that I marked down that I'm going to give General Anderson is his penchant for and the routine use of states of emergency. He is the man who has brought that into the space for us to be having the routine use of states of emergency as part of policing. That's not normal. A state of emergency is a nuclear option that governments use when things are falling apart. And so I give him a C+.
Okay. Wow. I think I should. Good evening, Chris. We are here
Good evening, guys.
talking about. I'm gonna ask you I'm gonna give you an opportunity to respond to the question that was asked. But let me just acknowledge a few people. Abena, Petra, Paul Mills. Good evening to you guys. Nice to have you guys. Paul Mills is asking what technology, I guess, about that Major Anderson had brought to the force. So, Chris, let me see if I could get back to the question. The question was, the first question is to the panel is, what is your opinion on the work done by the outgoing commissioner, Major Anthony Anderson? Was he a success or a failure? And he was graded by a B minus. I think Sir Ryan had given him. I'm not too sure. And I get a C minus from C plus from Dr. Ivy. I don't know if you had gone through it and assessed him enough, Chris, to respond to that question.
Right.
But you want to take a shot at it, or you want to pass it up? Because I want to ask a question that was raised by Sir Ryan.
No, real quick. I don't know if it's a matter of social media exposure or what, but first of all, let me say that my perspective is coming from someone who is in the U.S. and not in Jamaica, right? I'm not on the ground there, so I can't speak to that level of involvement or what I've seen Major Anthony do. But
because you're speaking off mic, I'm not hearing him well.
Okay. Anybody else hear me?
I'm hearing you. You have a little muff.
I don't know why. How about you, Dr. Ivy? Can you hear me?
We're hearing you, but not distinctly.
Unless you want me to go in and come back out. You want me to come off and come back on? See if it's any better.
Just finish what you have to say about that, and then go. Come on.
Anyway, again, So I'm speaking from the perspective of what I see from here in the US, okay? And
Okay.
obviously, only the things I've seen on social media and what have you, and what I've read in the papers as well. I think he has made a good effort. That's my opinion. Again, from the perspective that I'm mentioning, right? I've seen, it seems, that they're involved in a lot more training for the police. They have applied a lot more technology to policing in Jamaica. And their social aspect of reaching out to people seems to be successful. Now, as far as that came on when I heard you talking about other aspects of what they've chosen to do to fight crime. I don't know about that, how well that works on the laws behind that, them deciding on, the SOEs and so on, states of emergency. But from what I've seen, I mean, it seems to be making a good effort to reaching out to the public and so on.
Okay.
Seems to be an improvement for me.
Okay. All right. You want to just come out and then try to come back and restart your thingy. So, Ran, I heard you said, Dr. Ivy had alluded to the fact that there has not been any dent in the murder rate, the fact that it has been 1,388, 2023 at hand with. Given all the factors that would have caused and create crime, from what I have heard on previous show, do you think so much burden should place on the commissioner as it relates to fighting, reducing the crime, given all the other factors that even Dr. Ivy had laid point out in previous show? Do you think that he should be measured by that? I'm asking you, Sir Ran.
Well, it is hard to hold the commissioner to account, and that's not one of the metric, that you're going to apply, to his performance criteria. You just can't get past it. If the question is whether or not we should rely on him solely, all things being equal, that is unfair. The fact, however, is that I have not heard these various commissioners over many years. I've not heard them being, upset or outraged with the government about what it is that they need to do what they have to do. And so, in the absence of a commissioner saying, this is what I need, and this is what I need, and this is what I need, and I'm not getting it, I have to accept that they are comfortable with whatever it is that they are given to perform the work. And the reduction in homicide rate is clearly one of the objectives that we have. Most of the panelists, week after week, do not agree with this need for state of emergency. I heard Dr. Ivy say that, it is supposed to be reserved for, crisis and extraordinary, occurrences or events and so on. We live in an extraordinary set of circumstances. When you have a country that is registering 50 per 100,000.
You have 1 minute, Sir, to wrap up.
As the murder rate, that's extraordinary. And so we can't use ordinary policing to do that. So from that point of view, I'm holding him to the murder rate because he's not complaining about what he's given to do it.
All right. Thank you very much for that. But Dr. Paul Levy, we had the crime went down 7%.
Well, yes. I mean, 7% is minuscule. What we have, let us not get into the percentage. We had 1,383 persons murdered. So if we play with percentages, it might sound that way. 1,383 persons murdered. And I want to comment on this state of emergency thing. It is one thing the state of emergency gives the police that they don't otherwise have, is to hold people without charge. The police has curfew, they have cordon and search, they have all kinds of other techniques. The one thing the state of emergency gives them is to hold people indefinitely without charge. And so what we don't have is regular policing, painstaking investigation, gather the evidence, build airtight cases, take the people to court.
Okay, thank you for that. Chris, do you think that we should measure the performance of the outgoing commissioner by the murder rate? Do you think that and added to the fact that we went down 7% last year? What do you think?
Yeah, I think that is one way to measure his effectiveness during his tenure. But I think you have to consider other factors involved as well. Um, Keeping in mind, just to go back to what Ronnie had said, this person is a political appointee, right? And maybe
Not quite.
Pardon?
Not quite. They say that is the Police Services Commission that appoints the commissioner.
Okay. Okay.
Okay.
All right. Well, I mean, there's some influence, not sure how much, by the ministers, right?
But with the blessing of the sitting government, but
yeah, pretty much, right? So, all right. So, therefore, this individual may not feel comfortable expressing what Ronnie thinks they should be expressing about, their job and what they need to get it done. And that's always a problem when you have such an individual, such a position attached politically. It's always going to be a problem. So that has to have a unique approach to how we're going to solve that one. But back to Dennis's question, yes, I do think that is important, but you have to consider other factors because numbers are tricky. You know that? You know how it is. It's a 7% reduction, I think, is what Dr. Ivy said. And that may be attributable to a number of other things besides the policing as well. There's other social factors involved. The influx of people coming in, the amount of weapons that they've seized or not seized, amount of gangs that have formed, and also part of the judicial system, if that has changed or improved in any way over time. That's also going to affect crime in Jamaica. That's about it as far as my opinion.
Thank you, sir. I'm gonna move on to the second question. Go ahead. Yes, sir.
Just a quick point to Chris. Issue about the influence, because that made the point that the commissioner ought to raise issues relating to the limitation that they have, that the public, because everything is political, and it is important that we in the public know what they are, faced with, so we can hold the political class, accountable. So, Chris, the thing is that because the appointment of the police commissioner is not within the political ambit, the service commission that appoint them, that arrangement isolate them from any kind of political vendetta or you understand? So that is what it is. They need not to be worried about what the Prime Minister think or what the Minister of National Security think, because neither of them can fire him.
That's I'd say should. That's the arrangement. Ronnie, should, because as we know, Jamaica is highly politically polarized. Come across one person who is not either JLP or PNP in some form or fashion, or So I think it will always have an influence. That's just my opinion.
He said the operative word there is should, Sir Rand. So let me move on to the.
Before you run to the second question.
Okay, go ahead.
That the commissioner has at his command 14,000 men and women to comprise the establishment of the JCF. That's not just the commissioner. So it is his ability to orchestrate effectiveness through the 14,000 people he has under him.
Great. So second question is Major General Anthony Anderson came to the police force from the Army. Wow. From my memory, we had at least two other commissioners who also came from the Army. What are your opinion of that? Is that good or bad practice to pull people from the army. I'm gonna start with Sir Ran with that.
Okay, I think it's a bad practice, to be honest with you. It's a bad practice.
Explain the bad.
Yeah, it must be demoralizing, to a force of 14,000, of people who join the police with aspiration to become the highest officer in the force, and only to find that occasionally you just simply parachute somebody in there from somewhere else. That's not good. That's not good, for morale and motivation and so on and so forth. Now, I know why they keep doing it. They keep doing it because the men and women who they recruit and bring into the police force over the 20 or 25, 30 years that they're in there, they have not been able to transform them from the level at which they came in to the level that they need them to be commissioners. So that has been the problem. What they need, so I am against them demoralizing of the force to bring people from outside. Nobody likes it. Nobody in the police force likes it. But to address that problem, I think they probably need to put in place, one, they'll have to bring in higher caliber people into the thing, which means they have to pay people more because they're bringing in low caliber because they're paying lowly. But importantly, just like in the army, the reason why the army has a Major General Anthony Anderson is because they have an officer class. I remember when I was leaving high school, I signed up to go into the army, and I would have gone in as at the level of lieutenant. The police probably need to.
What happened? You had bone spurs.
Yes, we're gonna have war with Cuba. I never like it, but I believe that that's probably how you have to address that, because I can understand you need to bring in some entry level people, entry level qualification and so on. But to address the thing where you're at the officer core of the police force, you have to start bringing in an officer core. That people come in maybe at superintendent, assistant superintendent, and they do it from time to time, but it never works for reasons that I can share at another time. But that is important, that you don't keep taking people from somewhere else and parachute them into the. It's a thing that must be brought to an end, and speedily.
Okay, all right. So I'm gonna get to a question from that but I will allow Dr. Paul Ivy to respond to the second question that was asked.
Yes, it's not a good thing to bring people from outside of an organization to go to the top position, eclipsing people who have been in the organization as a general proposition. But the JCF kind of bought it on itself. They brought it on themselves because the squaddy culture, and you got training school together, and all of that type of thing. And the JCF brought it on itself. So that, and the lack of discipline in the ranks of the rank and file, because you don't find that level of army military discipline among the rank and file of the JCF as you have in the army. That doesn't exist. And I think that's part of the reasoning why, based on how low the JCF had fallen, it was necessary to bring in that infusion of discipline to lift it and so forth. But it seems to me that what we have seen is that they don't intend to perpetuate that. That's why we now have the appointment of Dr. Blake. So, but at the time when it occurred, perhaps it was necessary. But what we see, for example, I recall attorney at law, ex-policeman David Brown on this platform, mentioning the Macmillan legacy in terms of how it demoralized the JCF, and he still thinks that there's a overhang from the Macmillan days still bedeviling the force for morale and so forth, and even how persons kind of drop their hands as it relates to crime fighting. R.D. Lewin didn't stay long. I think he stayed just about 2 years, and he had some internal issues as well. As a matter of fact, at one time, I think the chairman of the Police Federation came out and made some statements about how it is that the internal resistance to the external commissioner was at play among the officer corps in the JCF. So as a general proposition, it's not a good thing, but I think they have turned the corner now and bringing in the infusion of, say, an General Anderson at the time when he was brought in. And like I mentioned in terms of the plus that I gave him, that he had lifted the professionalism of the force, and you are seeing a different profile of police on the streets. I've been stopped by police who approach me in a polite manner, and there's a kind of structure and order to the approach that they're taking to policing, and I think Anderson can be credited with that.
Thank you, sir. Getting people from the force to run the police, getting people from the army to run the police force in Jamaica, Chris, what do you think about that? Is that a good practice? Do we need that level of discipline that's coming from the military to be inserted in the force?
I do agree with that last statement you're saying, right? Yes, we do need that level of discipline, the highest possible level of discipline you can find to run such an organization, a law enforcement organization, right? If problem is if you can only find it in the military to bring on a leader, that's bad. So however, I'm gonna make this, my answer is short. Okay, so you can move on to the next question very quickly. I agree with both Ronnie and Dr. Ivy, both of them. Okay. That in everything they said, seriously, and especially where Ronnie said they need to have a program, because they don't have one already, and please forgive me if one does exist. Okay, that's fine, but maybe it's just not working well. But it needs to be some sort of an officer development program, or bring in these folks that are at the right level that the JCF wants them to bring them up to be leaders. Okay. Yeah, man, and it is demoralizing because they do have a different culture, military and police. Policing is very different from military. Okay,
that's what I'm thinking.
It's not good to what you the message is sending the rank and file folks and people at JCF that, hey, every one of your bosses that are bringing is always somebody from the military, somebody else. So you folks are not good enough.
Capable, yeah, are capable, right. And that's the image I see on it too, and I don't think that make any sense to me. I'm gonna move on to the third question because I know Chris is gonna want to go to bed very soon. We expect a lot from the and you know what? I was gonna skip over this question, but I'm not going to, because I've heard Dr. Ivy had spoken about many factors that contribute to crime, and that's how I see, in spite of the question that I asked earlier and the response, I still think this is relevant. So let me get into it. We expect a lot from our police commissioner, especially as it relates to the reducing the high crime rate in the country. My question to the panel is how much the commissioner can do to improve the crime situation in the country. Do we expect too much from him? And I'm going to start with Dr. Paul Ivy with that question.
Well, like I said, look, you put people in position and you expect them to perform. You don't expect Paul Ivy, an academic, to impact the crime situation because I'm not the commissioner of police. So if you have the commissioner of police, then you have a legitimate expectation that being in that position, having at his disposal 14,094 officers or men, women, the establishment of the force, his responsibility is to orchestrate the effectiveness of the crime fighting strategies and plans. There are 19 police divisions across Jamaica, and not one of them is effective in my mind. Not a single one. The commissioner has 4 deputy commissioners, and they have they have assistant commissioners, superintendents, senior superintendents, assistant superintendents, inspectors, and all of that whole cadre in the force. And I'm saying to you that I want Ronnie, for example, to challenge me on this or to comment on it otherwise. There are 19 police divisions across Jamaica, and not a single one is effective in terms of law and order, maintenance of order in the public squares and the main towns of these areas and so forth. It just doesn't happen. Who we gonna hold responsible for that when he has all of these resources at his disposal? It has to be a significant responsibility for the commissioner of police, insofar as his responsibilities are concerned. Then you have the policymakers, and you can put what you want to the portion of the responsibility at their feet. Then you can put the portion of the responsibility at the feet of citizens and so on and so forth. But insofar as what the commissioner is responsible for, can't get out of it.
No, but you're saying there's 19 division in the police force, and none is effective, but the crime rate is only 1,388.
Only?
No, but I'm just saying. I'm saying if it wasn't effective, it could have been a lot worse. Sir Ryan, you want to respond to that, Dr. Ivy?
In normal countries, it's about 6% that you have per 100,000 in terms of homicide.
So is it ineffectiveness of the police why the crime rate is there? Because I heard you said different in other programs. That's why I put even the question to you first. You're saying there's multiple factors to the crime situation in Jamaica. You in my mind, or how I interpret your response is that the police have very little to do with the crime situation, with all the 40 odd factors that you had put in place in previous shows. I cannot understand how you are pointing so much finger in the direction of the police.
Because they were not directing their attention to those areas. Go from Morant Bay to Negril. There is no order in any public space. Who must do that? Police.
Okay, I'm gonna give Sir Ryan a shot at a question that was asked. Sir Ryan, is it the expectation of the police is too high? And let me just acknowledge that Delroy Graham and Maxine and all them other people that is, and Alfred and all those people. Yeah. So Ryan, take a shot at it, sir. Or you want me to ask the question again?
No, I get it. Some with Dr. Ivy on it.
Mark Robinson, hi.
Public order is an important, one of the serious, performance index, of the police force. Now, but your question, about the crime rate, just, 1,300 in a little country of 3 million, is saying that the law and order is at an atrocious level. Because
so none of the 19 division is effective.
No. What I'm saying, your position was that if it was as bad as he's making it out, it will be more than 1,300 people murdered. And I'm saying with 1,300 people murdered in Jamaica, it made Jamaica significantly worse than Haiti. Just to put it in perspective, that when we murder 1,300 people in Jamaica in a year, it is much worse than what's going on in Haiti, probably 2-3 times as bad as Haiti. And so I just want to put it that way, the 1,300 is not a small number. It is 50 per 100,000. That's what it's working out of. No, but I believe that the police commissioner in Jamaica is given a basket to carry water. They're given a basket to carry water, and that ties to my earlier assessment, response about, the fairness of the assessment when, it takes a lot more than him just being in command. I am old enough to remember what happened in New York in the early 1990s, where Giuliani made his name. There was a commissioner named Commissioner Brown at the time, and Bill Clinton had just come into office. New York had become the crime capital of the world in the way that Jamaica is almost now. Not almost, I mean, we're there. And They just didn't put in a new commissioner, a new attorney, what do you call it, attorney general, whatever they call them. They gave them resource, and one of the main resource that was put to their disposal was the amount of officers that they put down on the ground. Okay. They put down 100,000 officers on the ground. The research is there. I became fully aware of that matter in the Harvard Business Review in the mid-1990s. The case of how New York turned around the thing. 14,000 officers in Jamaica is about where the force was in the 1980s, where we were murdering less than 500. It means to me that the 13 to 14,000 officers is woefully inadequate to keep public order in Jamaica, where the thing is, crime is so rampant. So if you give a police officer a situation like this and maintain the same amount of police that we have had over the last 30 to 40 years almost, when the murder rate has gone up 2 to 3 times, that is a recipe for failure. So that is the basket I'm talking about.
Yeah. So the police are not given, the commissioner are not given, is not given adequate resource. So there's very little he can do with the
little resource he has. And personnel in New York, white work in New York, the way it did. Every turn the criminal them turn in New York, they turn into a police.
Was it the research asking if the police were given the asking for what they needed? Who was it that asked that question earlier? Because like you, Ronnie, I am shocked that one of the areas of attention wasn't a doubling of the establishment of the JCF.
Of course, it doesn't make any sense. 1,300 doesn't make any sense at the current crime rate.
At the current crime rate.
And
the absence of discipline within our culture too.
Just I'm an advocate for the state of emergency. The reason why the state of emergency, when they are applied, do not work. The reason why they do not work is because you can't police everywhere. So they can't have a state of emergency across the gamut of Jamaica. So they have it in St. James and probably I know. And when they do that, the criminal them just move to Clarendon.
Right.
And in order for them to effectively put it in St. James, they have to move police from St. Ann and move some from Kingston because they don't have enough. If the country was adequately policed with enough personnel, there would be no way for them to run.
Not only that, the way how the states of emergencies were implemented. How on earth can you go and put a checkpoint in one location and have police and soldiers sitting there? If I'm a criminal, what am I going to do? Go and drive up there with my gun and my things and then search me? You're going to avoid them because your cronies are going to tell you, say, I done this or then there. Are you going to know that they are at that particular location? How they need to apply the state of emergency, you see? Go into a hotbed, encircle the place, lock it down, and go house by house, full cube by full cube, and search the place. They have not done that.
They don't have enough officers to do that. They can't have a 100% cordon, which is what they need to have. If you can't cordon off something effectively,
don't bother with it. That's why the states of emergency have not worked.
Exactly. So personnel is a number.
Okay. Let me just give Chris a shot at the question. Is there, do you think the expectation from the commissioner is too much, Chris?
I don't even know where to begin, and I know you have a limited amount of time. And there's a couple of things that both these two gentlemen mentioned, but they're missing something which I can speak to. All right. Now, the number of personnel, yes, I get you. And this is a very complex issue, right? In any crime fighting situation. The commissioner is responsible for an awful lot. But one thing I think is missing, and you folks never mentioned it, right, is keep in mind policing and reducing the crime in Jamaica, okay, has a lot to do with prosecutor's office. Gentlemen, the police work hand in hand. I mean, like a hand and glove. You understand me?
I did. Chris, could you repeat that? I didn't hear that a while ago.
Yeah. You hear me, Doctor? Have you folks hear me better now?
Yeah, I'm hearing you. I don't know.
Just repeat the sentence you made a while ago.
Law enforcement, the police.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, those guys on the ground, those detectives, these rank and file folks and what have you. In order to be successful, they have to work hand in hand, like a hand and glove, with the prosecutor's office. Okay? They are like one police force, seriously. And if there is a disconnect or there is a failure on the one part, and in this case, let's just say, and I'm not going to DPP's office to say, but when the conviction rate is as low as it is, okay?
Somebody playing something there. Somebody playing something. Who is that? Okay. Yeah. Keep going. Go ahead, Chris.
Yeah, no. Okay, so you talk about that basket that the poor commissioner has been given to carry, right? Basket of water. Well, the biggest hole in that basket, in my opinion, is the performance on behalf of the DPP's office. Guys, can you imagine you could have the full amount of police out there. Let's say you double them, Ronnie or Dr. Which one of you say need more police? And these folks are doing their job, doing their best, gathering evidence, arresting people, and it's like a revolving door with the DPP because they can't manage these folks. And if you have any idea that is the biggest demoralizing effect on a police officer? You work hard, you risk your life, okay, to bring in some criminals. All right, you're out there with your weapons and your vest and what have you, and you're out there and you investigate and you gather evidence for weeks, months, years even, and you bring these guys to the DPP's office only for them to be given bail or bond on serious crime, or walk past you and I'll threaten you, say, hey boy, we know where you're living, we know your family and everything there.
Yeah.
That's what police in Jamaica have had to put up with, Very demoralizing. Yes. It is horrible. So let us not knock the police themselves per se and say, well, you respond to crime, and the commissioner. The commissioner, in my opinion, and I'll tell Kevin myself if I get the opportunity to remind him, I know he already knows, a very intelligent guy. Talk to the DPP. You must work hand in hand with them. And when these guys go out there and do their hard work, okay, make sure these folks are properly prosecuted and done so quickly and expeditiously. And that is one big thing. But if you see that your work is working, when you go there, you're fighting crime and you're bringing evidence and you're arresting people and whatever, you bring them before the court. And that aspect is being taken care of. That is, they're being convicted or being properly processed by the judicial system. You're going to feel good about what you do. You're going to go out there, you're going to feel energized about doing your job because you're making a difference. But when that doesn't happen, and you are being threatened, and you don't have the proper support from the DPP's office, and things happening, it is horrible.
All right.
Problem.
Point well taken. Sir, Ronnie, you want to take a hit at that? Do you think do you support Chris's position and the DPP and the police working hand in hand?
Well, that is how they work hand in hand now, but the fact of the matter is that there's a capacity issue. There's just really a capacity issue. You don't have enough and sufficiently qualified clerks in the court, people in the DPP office. You don't have enough of that. You don't have enough.
That's not only enough. Fault though, right? The police commissioner's fault, right? I'm just saying.
No, that is not their fault.
Okay.
No, but in order to get the throughput that you're talking about.
You're muted, Ronnie.
You need to unmute your mic, Ronnie. Yeah.
Oh, sorry about it. Yeah, I'm saying I share the view that they have to work hand in hand, and that is how that's how they work now. The fact is that they are working at a low capacity. The capacity that is necessary is just not there. You don't have enough prosecutors. And then beyond that, you don't have enough courtrooms. You don't have enough judges. And so the expeditious way in which you want to prosecute and convict is just not happening. because you have a
Right.
capacity problem.
But it
Right,
has
right,
to
right.
happen. That is where I'm talking about putting
So-
priority on crime, you know. That's a big part of it, you know. It has to be improved.
Yes, because if it doesn't improve, then we ain't getting nowhere. Let me just give Dr. Ivy a shot.
It has to go hand in hand, guys. You can't have one up here, all the crime going on, and expect these folks to go to, why you don't do something with the crime and arrest these people, what have you?
Yeah,
and the doctors dropping the ball. Come on.
Because it come under the same umbrella of limited or no resource. Come under the same umbrella. Dr. Ivy, you wanna respond to that?
No, I think it is to be appreciated, you know, that the police, all police cases do not go through the DPP's office, you know. So I think perhaps the larger point is that the judicial system should be improved so that, you know, the cases that are brought are expeditiously handled and so on and so forth. But, you know, I remember, you know, we talk about bail and so on and so forth. We need to appreciate that, you know, that's why people like the state of emergency, you know, you can hold people without charge and without bail indefinitely and so forth. You have to appreciate that in a democracy, human rights have to be respected. And if a matter goes before a judge and an application is made for bail and the case is made, they probably might make a decision in that regard. But so that has to be taken on board. But the other thing that we need to remember is this. It is not just to say that the police is to arrest people for every single infractions, you know. One of the effective dimensions of policing is prevention, you know, and deterrence. So they come back to the issue of presence. A police on the beat, police on the corner, police here and there will prevent crime. So you don't have that bottleneck in the court system in terms of everything just going court-wise. You talk about prevention. That's an element of bringing down the crime problem as well.
Okay.
So the entire system, what the government has failed to do is that they have not addressed the thing from a systems perspective.
System. Okay. Great. Thank you very much. We will wrap up in a matter of 7 minutes. So let me get to the second to last question. If you were the new commissioner and one wish that the government would fulfill, what would be that wish? Let me start with Saran on that. Saran, you want to respond to that?
Well, that would be very easy for me, to be honest with you. Nothing short of tripling the police, the complement, you know, given where we are with crime and what I've seen work. So we're at 14,000 right now. We need to be at least 30,000 police. At least 30,000 police. That's the only thing that can adequately deal with the crime at the level at which we are. Hopefully, you know, in 10 years' time, we could take our time and ramp down from that, you know, because I don't know that under normal circumstances, Jamaica need to have 35,000 police. But these are not normal times.
Yes.
There should be nowhere. You know, I grew up close to a community in St. James called Cambridge, where there's a police station. And it was always a peaceful community. Only to find that, you know, over the last 4 or 5 years, I've heard of 3 quadruple murders in that quiet community. Growing up in that community, the police station had like 4 police officers, 5 maybe max. Now, the level of crime that is taking place there, there's no way, given the size of Cambridge and its environment, that 5 police can deal with it. You know, so the fact of the matter is that, you know, in order to address the crime at the level that it is, I would need 35,000 police. That would be my singular big wish.
Thank you. Dr. Ivy, I'm going to give you a minute because we're going to wrap up very soon to respond to that question. What would be your wish?
Give me a blank check so that I can get whatever resources I want. Because if crime is the number one problem, give me a blank check so that I can get all the resources I want to do the job effectively.
All right. I'm gonna give Chris.
It cannot be that you're going to say you don't have resources to solve the number one problem in the country.
Exactly. Chris, you wanna respond to that? What would be your one wish?
Unfortunately, no one wishing. So many things need to be done, my friend. Honestly, but I agree with Ronnie. I think police presence does make a difference with the crime. I really do. However, I think not just presence, but I'd love to see them trained on a more continuous basis. We need more of them and trained on a continuous basis in different aspects of policing. And also allow them to do their jobs. Like try to some way, somehow, through legislation or what have you, to reduce interference from politics. And I think their jobs. Yeah.
So I wanted to ask this question. So in your mind, Sir Ran, you think this commissioner is a better choice for the force, given the fact that he was I think that guy was at what level he came into the force though? He didn't come at a constable level. From what I read, I'm
not sure what rank he came in, but they had a thing that they call the accelerated promotion.
Yeah,
also. I think he came into the gazetted ranks. I think it's something
that's what I'm thinking. What do you think about that? Kevin, Dr. Kevin, being the commissioner. Do you think that's a good choice, Sir Ran? Kevin Blake.
I have to be very honest. I don't know enough about him. I am more, likely to believe that he has academic credentials and that it may have worked in his favor. He is a PhD. I don't know that and Dr. Paul Ivy, did made the point earlier on that he's a PhD and it doesn't make him any better at fighting crime than constables. But no, on a serious note though, I don't know enough about him. Frankly, I believe that if he comes into the same limitations that his predecessors had, with limited amount of police officers that does not allow them, the kind of presence that inhibits. The point that Dr. Paul Evans made was a very well-made point, that prevention is a thing. And it is a presence of police that prevent crime. That when you are driving around and everywhere you look, you see police, you don't commit no crime. It is and not only that, you'd have far less accidents on the road because you'd have enough cars moving up and down there, enough speed traps, people just go at the communication and so on and so forth. So I am not in a position to pass any judgment or to give any outlook that is favorable or unfavorable towards it.
I support that because as it is right now, it takes nothing to do something to overwhelm the existing police force that we have. Just about anything. One man commit a crime down there, sir. Then the few little police run gardeners and all him have to do is make him friend them do it up there, sir. Because there's no police to go up there, sir. Yeah. That's where we are. But let me ask this question. Outside and I'm gonna change this about a little bit. Outside of police and soldiers and all that, tell me two things outside of policing that we could look at as something to that would help with the crime situation. Two things outside of policing.
Let me start with my industry, the education system. The education system is year after year churning out a whole set of illiterates, no skill, no CXC, nothing at all, to become ready recruits for the gangs. We need to address the weaknesses in our education system.
All right. Chris, do you share that sentiment?
Oh, yeah. I think education is a key component in reducing crime. And I think also include in the element of education is this national pride. That should be a big part of it. All right. When I was going to school, we had to session the national anthem every morning, and prayers and what have you. And you had instilled with you a certain level of morality. I mean, I went to Catholic school. Not all of them are religious based. I get it, but I think that's a big part. I agree with you there, Doctor.
So Ran.
It's because there's a lot of things to do, man, outside of policing that to help crime in Jamaica. It took me off guard there, but
I said that because Dr. Ivy was always talk about the 40 other things that contribute to crime. So that's what I wanted to take a hit at. So Ran, you wanna respond to that, and that is the final question for the night, guys.
Well, we go back to the point that Chris was made earlier. So you have law enforcement at one with the police and the army, doing, for national security. Then on the other hand, which is complementary, is the justice part of the, triangle. That we must build capacity in the justice system. The flow through that we have now is inhibiting the kind of fight against crime that we need. The flow through is too slow. You have a murder case and it don't come to trial until 2, 3, 4, 5 years later because the court is overwhelmed, with cases. So we need more judges, we need more prosecutors, we need more courtrooms, because as it is now, a lot of the kind of decision on the different matters and case matters are delayed, and justice delayed is justice denied. We have to our system that we are able to bring this thing, and one of your very very astute audience, listeners, whatever, made a point which falls exactly in what I'm saying about the jury system. You can't have what now obtained, you give people like a pittance to come to jury, and then you can't even protect them if they need protection, whatever it is. You have to have a system where people feel like it is not a waste of their time to go and participate. So the justice part of it as a complementary part is where a lot needs to be changed and improved on.
Agreed.
All right, thank you very much, guys. It was indeed a pleasure. But the thing that I think we need to stress on, and I hope that it reaches the right ears, is that we need more jury, we need more judge, we need more police station, we need more police.
Maxine was the person who put up the jury thing.
Yeah. That's why I put it back out. Yeah,
it's a huge thing. That's inhibiting our ability to perform well there. Trust me.
Yes. So the lack of resource is so if we double the police force, we probably would have been in a better place in fighting crime. And I never really thought about that. And I must say thank you to you guys for bringing up that part of it, because I never really thought about it, and I'm thinking many didn't either. So with that being said, we will end our night. Thank you guys for being a part of tonight's show, and we'll look forward to see you guys next week, same time, same place.
Thanks, guys.
Good night to y'all.
Have a good
All
night.
right. Blessings. All right, guys.
Bye-bye.
So share, and subscribe, guys, to Sutherland TV for more crime fighting, update, information, and strategies. Blessings.